Welcome to Mapping Minerals Diplomacy, an explainer series that brings clarity to the deals, players, and policies shaping the global race for critical minerals. I'm your host, Gracelin Baskaran, Director of the Critical Minerals Security Program at CSIS. Today, we turn to Argentina, a country that has emerged as one of the world's most promising critical minerals frontiers, particularly for copper. Argentina is a nation where mineral potential is colliding with economic volatility, but importantly, where the stakes for global supply chains could not be higher. Argentina's economy has faced deep challenges. Economic growth has been sluggish, even contracting in recent years. Between 2015 and 2023, the average real growth rate was just 0.13%. In 2023, the economy contracted by 1.6%, followed by a 1.7% contraction in 2024. At the same time, the inflation rate, or the annual increase in consumer prices, has skyrocketed. In 2023, the inflation rate surged to 134%. And by 2024, it reached a whopping 220%. However, President Milei's significant macroeconomic reforms have begun reining in inflation. This year, inflation is forecasted to drop to just 36%. But the country has also experienced a debt crisis, limiting its ability to make infrastructure investment. Between 2020 and 2023, the debt to GDP ratio surged from 104% to 155%. However, President Milei's fiscal austerity has begun to rein the debt in. The debt to GDP ratio is projected to fall significantly to 73% this year. Despite ongoing macroeconomic volatility, Argentina continues to rank as a premier mining destination, underpinned by its rich resource base and consistent investor-friendly policies. The Fraser Institute's Policy Perception Index, which evaluates how government policies influence exploration investment, has placed Argentina among Latin America's top 3 jurisdictions every year since 2018. Notably, Argentina has consistently outperformed Chile and Bolivia, its counterparts in the lithium triangle, which together holds 56% of global lithium reserves. Argentina is experiencing a mineral exploration boom. Total exploration budgets rose from just $124 million in 2014 to nearly $500 million in 2024, a fourfold increase. This surge underscores Argentina's growing role as a global exploration hotspot. Lithium exploration has skyrocketed. Exploration spending grew from $3.4 million in 2015 to a peak of nearly $140 million in 2023 before stabilizing at $127 million last year. Located within the lithium triangle, Argentina is now a central player in global lithium supply chains. Copper exploration is accelerating at an even faster pace. Budgets climbed from $25 million in 2015 to more than $200 million in 2024, an 8-fold increase. By 2030, copper exports are on track to contribute billions to Argentina's economy. As the map behind me will show, there's a number of projects all across Argentina. There's 61 lithium projects, 35 copper, 70 gold, 20 silver, and 4 uranium projects. Now, a new incentive regime for mining in Argentina is attracting major players in these commodities. The incentive regime for large investments guarantees miners 30 years of tax credits, lighter customs duties, and a progressive easing of capital controls. It also gives investors access to international dispute courts rather than needing to go through slow-moving local courts. In August 2025, the Argentina Executive Branch issued a decree establishing a 0% export duty for 231 mining-related products, most of which had previously been subject to a 4.5% duty. The measure is intended to encourage private investment, strengthen domestic value-added production, and promote mining exports. Argentina's copper sector is experiencing a wave of announcements that could reshape its role in global supply chains. Companies like Glencore, Newmont, BHP, First Quantum Minerals, Rio Tinto, and London are all making investments in Argentina. Most recently, Glencore has unveiled its most ambitious plan yet, targeting production of nearly 1 million metric tons of copper annually within the next decade through its El Patron and Agua Rica projects. The company intends to invest $13.5 billion in these projects and has applied for inclusion under Argentina's large investment incentive regime. Initial output is projected at 500,000 tons per year, but Glencore estimates that 7 major Argentine copper projects together could reach 2 million tons annually, generating as much as $20 billion in export revenue. The new incentive regime is also attracting major players like BHP. BHP's recent investment marked the company's first foray into mining in Argentina in 2 decades. It teamed up with Canada's London Mining with the aim of developing 2 copper mines along the Andes Mountains bordering Chile. First Quantum Minerals recently announced plans to invest $3.5 billion in Taca Taca copper project in Argentina. Now, despite these bold announcements, infrastructure remains a critical bottleneck. Argentina has not produced significant copper since 2018, and without new transport, energy, and water infrastructure, large-scale projects risk delays. Additionally, innovative financing will be key to address these challenges amidst the debt challenges Argentina is facing. But why is Argentina a crucial partner for the United States? First, there's a positive trade relationship. In 2024, the United States imported $9.8 billion in goods from Argentina, while Argentina imported $16.5 billion in goods from the United States. This amounts to a $6.5 billion trade balance in favor of the United States. Second, it's hard to see a world where we will meet the significant copper demand required for data centers and energy transmission infrastructure without Argentina. In 2024, the United States consumed roughly 1.6 million metric tons of refined copper, making it the world's second largest copper consumer. Yet its role in the supply chain is limited, accounting for only 5.1% of mined output and 3.3% of refined production globally. The gap between demand and supply is widening as America's economic and technological ambitions accelerate. Traditional data centers require 5,000 to 15,000 tons of copper, but next-generation facilities built to power artificial intelligence demand up to 50,000 tons each. Reflecting this shift, the Department of Energy announced in April 2025 that 16 federal sites had been identified for AI and data center development, underscoring the scale of copper-intensive infrastructure now underway. As a result, strengthening the Argentina-U.S. minerals bilateral relationship is a win-win for both countries. Mining investment has the potential to create a virtuous cycle of growth in Argentina, offering a pathway to ease its persistent macroeconomic strains. JP Morgan projects that by 2027, Argentina could surpass Chile to become the world's second largest lithium producer. And by 2030, it may supply as much as 16% of global demand. With 3 lithium projects under development, the largest pipeline of any country, Argentina is positioned for rapid expansion. According to the International Monetary Fund, mining exports could increase 5-fold over the medium term, with roughly $12 billion from lithium and another $5 billion from copper once new production comes online in 2027. Beyond the mining boom, Argentina is forecast to benefit from sustained foreign direct investment and trade surpluses, particularly in energy and mining, driving annual reserve accumulation of $5 to $10 billion. And importantly, the government has signaled a commitment to responsible development. In 2019, Argentina joined the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, adopting internationally recognized transparency standards. Argentina is poised at an inflection point. From a modest exporter, it could become a critical pillar of global copper and lithium supply chains. The question is whether policy, investment, and infrastructure can move fast enough to meet global demand. With smart diplomacy, U.S. tools like the Development Finance Corporation, Export-Import Bank, and strategic financing could help crowd in capital while aligning Argentina's projects with allied supply chains. And with that, I'm honored to welcome Argentina's Secretary of Mining, the Honorable Luis Lucero. Secretary Lucero, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the introduction, and it's a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you.
Argentina has transformed its mining sector in a few years. Now, Argentina has also faced challenges with inflation and currency controls in recent years. Secretary Lucero, how is the government working to strengthen macroeconomic stability and build greater confidence amongst foreign investors in the mining sector?
Well, mainly by bringing to policies something upon which President Milei has campaigned to become the president of the country, which is explaining to the public that inflation that we have suffered for decades is essentially a monetary issue, and that we needed to cut fiscal deficits. And the drastic reform plan was based essentially on cutting completely fiscal deficits. And that produced very, very quick results. As you very well said, we dropped inflation, or those policies dropped inflation from close to 220% per year for the year 2023 to less than or around 24% for this year, 2025. That's only in 2 years.
It's really been a remarkable turnaround story from both the mining investment perspective, but also the macroeconomic stability that is starting to be seen in Argentina. Now, I want to turn to another question. Mineral exploration is notoriously high risk. Most projects never actually reach production. Yet between 2020 and 2024, exploration investment in Argentina rose by 218%. What factors are fueling this surge?
Okay, I would say if you turn to what minerals are fueling that, there's a clear answer, and that is lithium and copper. Lithium exploration had started probably around 2020, 2018. I'm sure you recall that the prices at that time for lithium were extremely high, and that of course allowed companies to have robust exploration budgets. And it was very clear for everybody that our geology was very promising. And if you look at the lithium triangle, that is the north of Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, we were the country with the most beneficial legal system to explore lithium. And you may remember that our lithium comes from brines, and brines have a much lower OPEX. So if you extract lithium from brines, you will go to a much lower OPEX than if you extract lithium from hard rock. So the combination of our geology and our policies are probably the reasons for the increase, or for those numbers when it comes to lithium exploration. Now, on the other hand, we have, as you mentioned in your introduction, extremely well-known resources in terms of copper, and copper exploration budgets are extremely higher than lithium exploration budgets. I could mention one of the big names, one of the big players that you referred to in the introduction, spending $400 million in the year 2025 to advance exploration in two major copper deposits. So the certainty that we have world-class copper projects that require vast amounts of money to come to a feasibility study or pre-feasibility study is one reason. As I mentioned before, lithium is the other one driving those exploration budgets that you referred to.
And what's been incredible is that Argentina has had one of the most stable investor frameworks since the 1990s. So even where you had some of these macroeconomic volatilities, the investor framework has always been one of the most stable in Latin America. Now, Argentina, in my opinion, may be one of the world's most compelling copper stories. In 2023, copper ore exports totaled just $5.5 million, which is pretty negligible by global standards. Yet today, Argentina ranks amongst the top destinations for copper exploration. Projections indicate that 8 major copper projects could lift mining export revenues to $11 billion by 2035. Against this backdrop, what steps is the Argentine government taking to attract and accelerate investment in the copper industry?
Well, as you said, the fact is we haven't been producing copper since 2018, when a world-class mine called Bajo de la Lumbrera went into care and maintenance, and there is a very, very small operation that is responsible for that very small amount of exports when it comes to copper. So nowadays, at this point in time, it is fair to say that Argentina is not producing copper. Now, as you said, we have around 8. It depends on how you count 2 projects, whether you name them jointly, as the partners do, and I'm referring to the BHP/Lundin mining project called Vicuña, or you may divide that into Filo del Sol and Jose Maria. So it depends. But we have, say, 7/8 world-class copper projects. As you well said, we passed in 1993 a regime to promote mining investment, strictly mining investment, and that has been in place since then, and it's still being used by the companies essentially to import capital goods without paying tariffs or duties. And since July 2024, we have this large investments incentive regime that covers not only mining, but 8 other areas of the economy. So that's something we are doing very clearly to promote investment. We are very, very well aware that a macroeconomic stable environment is crucial. We are very much aware that a free foreign exchange regime is crucial. We suffered because of that in the past, and President Milei and the macroeconomic team, Minister Caputo, my boss, and his close aides work all day long to convey confidence to investors, because we know that's key. And we might mention other actions that we are taking to promote investment in the infrastructure sector that I think you also mentioned is key. All the major projects are located to the very west of Argentina on the border with Chile. So if we would intended to have the exports produced by those projects going out from Argentina through Atlantic ports. We need investment in our railways and highways. And also on top of that, we need investment to bring energy to those remote sites where the projects are located. And we are working hard on that front as well. There is a privatization program for a railway network that will serve the Northwest, where most of the lithium projects are located, and the West, which is where most of the copper projects are located.
I want to touch on one of those points, but first, it's remarkable how much has been achieved, again, on the investment promotion side, as well as the macroeconomic. Now, you touched briefly on energy investments, which I think takes me to my next question, is with the global shift toward midstream processing, which is highly energy intensive, is Argentina exploring more domestic refining or battery precursor production, or is it going to stay focused on raw material exports?
I would say for the moment, we think we should focus ourselves in at the stage we are. There are indications that moving to a next step that would be having battery factories in the country could not be a smart move at this point in time, at least. It wouldn't be a sound economic case. We are very far from the centers where batteries are needed, and we feel that we add value if you think that we are exporting lithium carbonate and lithium hydroxide, mostly battery grade. That means that we are satisfied at this point in time, at least. Future may bring other considerations, but again, at this point in time, I think we are fine. We want to go slowly but surely. Copper is a different world. We need to focus on bringing those projects into reality. Those need to be built. Those need to go into production.
I think that thoughtful, measured, and economically rational approach to building the industry is one of the things that really sets Argentina apart at a time when there is a lot of kind of knee-jerk policy reactions in the world of critical minerals policy. So I think that gives investors that long-term confidence that's necessary as you ramp up capabilities. Now, my last question for you, and maybe my favorite question, is how do you envision effective US-Argentina collaboration going forward when it comes to critical minerals?
Okay, I think there are two dimensions to that. One is government to government. We had the satisfaction of entering into a memorandum of understanding last year. That was executed by the then Foreign Affairs Ministry for Argentina, Ms. Diana Mondino, and an undersecretary under the Mr. Biden administration. We set a number of actions, and we are working on that, probably at a pace that could be faster, very sincerely. That's one aspect of this. Now, the other one is we really would like more American companies investing in the country. We have a very long relationship with Newmont, which operates a gold-silver mine in Patagonia, in the Santa Cruz province. And we know that Albemarle is exploring in the West for lithium, and I think we have a very strong, well-tested legal system when it comes to mining tenure that I would hope would encourage American companies to come to the country and invest, both in exploration. I think we all need exploration. The world need exploration, essentially when it comes to what we can offer is essentially copper and lithium. We know we have some cobalt, we know we have some nickel. For the time being, not in very substantial quantities. So it will be a very long shot to aim at those minerals. But when it comes to copper, not only we have the world-class projects, advanced projects that I mentioned, but a very, very, very broad area to be explored south of San Juan. For instance, the province of Mendoza has just opened up to exploration again after a number of years during which there was no exploration. Now the local government is making a big effort to attract investment in exploration. So we would like to see the private companies from the U.S. coming. Please be certain that we would welcome those endeavors. Our secretary is open and ready to help as much as we can. As I'm sure you know, we have a federal system, so the resources belong to the provinces. So there's always a sort of dual dialogue between the two governments and the private company that intends to invest. But I can assure you that no matter whether you're talking to the federal government or to the provincial government, we are completely aligned. There is an unprecedented public opinion in favor of the mining sector. That's something we didn't mention, but it is very, very important. That should give confidence to the investors that we understand that this is a long-term business, very long-term business. This is something new in the country that should also be a source of confidence. So I would say we should continue the government-to-government dialogue. And I mean, American companies should come, get the country to get to know the country better, and make a decision investment whether to explore or build the project.
Absolutely. And what's been really exciting to see from my perspective and the Washington perspective is that Argentina has been prioritized as a key partner in mineral security across both administrations. We saw that, as you mentioned, with the MOU signed by Undersecretary Fernandez. But again, we've really seen Argentina feature prominently in discussions with institutions like the Development Finance Corporation and where they're looking. So, going forward, again, we see that government interest. Companies like Newmont, I know, deeply value that relationship that they have with the government of Argentina. And that's really how we're going to move the needle, is through that public-private cooperation. Secretary Lucero, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the interest. And here we are, ready to help. So encourage your countrymen and companies to come and visit us, and you will be convinced this is the next frontier to invest.
Well, Patagonia is certainly on my bucket list of places to visit, so I will be there.
Lots of hiking to be done there.
I'm super excited. I would live outdoors if I could. And with that, that brings us to the end of this episode of Mapping Minerals Diplomacy. In future episodes, we'll explore how other countries are shaping their minerals diplomacy strategies and how the United States can better deploy its tools to compete. Thank you for watching. I'm Gracelin Baskaran. See you next time on Mapping Minerals Diplomacy.